spent a lot of time recently discussing Shedeur's NFL future. And he is now talking about which franchises he does not want drafting his son.
Let me tell you something that I have a problem with. And this kid can flat out play. I think he's the best one on the board this year for sure. A kid that's coming from California for the last couple of years, right? And went to Oklahoma. That is not terribly cold. Chicago's cold, man. You got to think about that kind of stuff when you're taking a young man. Like, see, when you take a guy from Ohio State and you bring him to Chicago, okay, I can understand that. But from California to Chicago,
that's a factor.
Like, I don't want my kid going nowhere cold next year. He grew up in Texas. He played in Jackson, played in Colorado. Season's over before it gets cold in Colorado. I'm just thinking way ahead. I don't want that for him.
This is
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Big Ben.
Just a few.
I don't know if it matters much. Russell Wilson's best years were in Seattle, where it's windy and cold by November. I would say this. Where weather matters is if you're not terribly strong-armed. Like, for instance, Green Bay, Jordan Love, Favre, and Rodgers, all coming out of college, had good arms. Pittsburgh, Big Ben Bradshaw, big arms. Brady developed into a strong-arm guy. Drew Bledsoe before him, big arm. I do think if you get a guy that comes out of the draft and you're like, not a huge arm, like Bo Nix doesn't have a huge arm. Would he be better served? Tua's much better served in Miami than Foxborough. Josh Allen, by the way, can play anywhere. Mahomes can play anywhere. So I do think if I'm like Teddy Bridgewater coming out of college, not a big arm. I'd love him in a dome, AFC South, NFC South. Tua.
He wasn't like a top pick. Shedeur Sanders, based on what we've seen, looks like a top 5 guy. And Colin, this sounds like Deion already starting to say, I don't want my kid going to the New York Giants next year when they're drafting 3rd overall. That's what it sounds like to me, doesn't it? He's trying to pull a John Elway and an Eli Manning, which is fine. I just wonder how franchises are going to feel a year out doing that.
Well, and also, even in New York, September and October in New York are gorgeous.
Beautiful. Love the fall.
November is hit and miss, but I've spent 2 Thanksgivings in New York, and it was chilly, but it wasn't awful.
Oh, come on. I double dog dare you to go to the Macy's Day Parade in New York. You have to wear like 7 layers, Colin. 2 whip gloves, all that stuff.
Okay, it's football. It's okay to be cold. You don't want heavy wind.
Not according to Deion. He doesn't want his kid going there throwing footballs.
Well, I'm saying 10 in New York, 10 of the 17 games are in very beautiful weather. 2 or 3 are in cold weather, and you may get, remember, schedule. You don't play all your games in December at home.
Also true.
I don't know.
But like you said, Tom Brady, do you
How
have
many
cold
games
weather playoff games in January?
Well, that's playoff.
Patrick Mahomes?
Yes, that's different.
But
I think I watched Shedeur Sanders play. I didn't think he had a weak arm. I think he's really talented.
Hey, he's a big-time prospect.
Yeah, I don't see him as a guy that's smaller, weak arm. I see him as a playmaker who's super accurate on any platform. He throws left, right, moving, pocket. I like him a lot.
It's early, but Shedeur or the kid at Georgia, any early
Shedeur is, to me, is kind of carrying Colorado, where the kids at Georgia come out being carried by the talent. And I think this is Georgia's best quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe ever, except Stafford. Stafford's the best.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they've had a lot of, Stetson Bennett, good, solid, but more of a college guy. Aaron Murray's good. But, I mean, kind of feel like heavy college guys. Shedeur's carrying his second college program, like carrying them. I like that.
Big-time talent. Final story. How about this? Jimmy Garoppolo is reportedly signing a 1-year deal with the Rams.
Yeah.
Jimmy G will back up Matt Stafford. Jimmy G was released by the Raiders after 1 season. Did not go well.
Love this move.
We had heard last week that the Rams were looking at Zach Wilson possibly.
I love this move.
You do?
Jimmy's been in a ton of big games. This system is quarterback friendly. Jimmy's had injuries. What have the Rams spent their money on last couple of years? Offensive line, Puka, Cooper Kupp. They just went and got another tight end. The kid from Seattle, Stanford kid. They've got a great running back, Kyron Williams. So they have nice offensive pieces.
Will Dissly?
No, they
Is that
went.
the tight end?
It's a kid from Stanford, Colby.
Parkinson?
Parkinson, yeah. A nice player, a willing blocker. So, I mean, I kind of look at the Rams and I think to myself, nice fit, very accurate distributor of the ball. It's a very solid O-line. He's not running for his life, knows the division. I like this move. I think this is a great spot.
You mentioned Aaron Donald earlier. I know you're hot on the Rams.
I'm going to give you my strong opinion next time.
Okay, good. I need to know if you're backing down. I mean, Aaron Donald is irreplaceable. Wait a minute. What? Okay. Let's just get to your take. I need to hear this.
My take. Sizzling take. J-Mac with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Success is more than a destination. It's a path you take one step at a time. It's fortitude and dedication. Yourself off. Nobody lives a perfect life. And Baker Mayfield, more than anything else, is resilient. He had to transfer in college. Carolina was a mess. GM here, coach there, interim there, Freddie Kitchens there. It was a mess. But yet, he dusted himself off. He's seen the hole in his game, self-awareness, and he's worked on it. This is a more focused Baker, fewer commercials. It's a more mature Baker, less starting fires at the podium every Wednesday. I like this Baker. I think this Baker's good. The NFC South has arguably been the weakest division in football for 10 of the last 20 years. And I don't know if that's because the SEC in college football is so big and powerful in the South. People don't care as much. The media doesn't focus. In the NFC South, Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles, you can win a lot of games there. They've got some stability. They've got some nice weapons. He will be the 17th highest paid quarterback in the league. That's more than reasonable for Baker. It feels reasonably Baker-friendly and reasonably Buccaneer-friendly. I know I've been a critic of Baker. I know at times I've been hard on Baker. He bet on himself. He's dusted himself off. He did it in college. He did it in Carolina. He did it in Cleveland. And I like this version of Baker. I think he deserved it. I think he's earned it. And I like it. Save big in your water and energy bills. New Navien tankless water heaters. Endless hot water, spa-like comfort. Go to tanklessmadesimple.com. By the way, everybody complains about the bubble teams that didn't get in. Folks, college basketball is a watered-down version of what it was 20 years ago. None of these teams are great. UConn's the best I saw. Houston's pretty good. These are not great teams. It's okay teams. Top coaches are leaving. Transfer portal. Chemistry cohesion's not great. Somebody was complaining about St. John's yesterday, and I'm like, at one point, they lost 8 of 10 games. Rick Pitino publicly lamented their lack of athleticism multiple times, and they had no big wins out of conference. But they almost beat UConn. Is not a reason to get into the tournament. None of these teams are special. Again, generationally, there were years when Duke and Carolina and Kansas Georgetown and Syracuse would bring back 4 NBA players. All would have been first rounders, and they all come back. It is a watered-down version. College football, where you have to stay 3 years minimum, most guys stay 4. You have a roster on Saturday. When Michigan's playing Georgia or Alabama, you have 25 NFL guys on the field. Anybody that's any good, last year the top 4 players in the NBA draft came from 4 different leagues. Players don't want to play college basketball if they're elite globally. And that's nothing against the sport. I still like watching big games, but arguing about a team that doesn't get into this field, these teams wouldn't, they'd be 8th place teams years ago, 20 years ago. This sport, more than any sport in my life, basketball's quality, college basketball's quality has plummeted over the last 20 years because of the one-and-done culture and because the NBA's always seen college basketball for some weird reason as the enemy. To me, college football furnishes the NFL with all these microwavable stars. Put your arms around college football if you're the NFL. The only reason I know who Zion is because of Duke. I don't know anything about Jalen Green. He went to the G League. And I don't sit around watching Rockets games. So in the end, I just can't. I don't want to hear your argument why a bubble team didn't get in. Seton Hall's not winning more than a game. If they got in, we're all going to be okay. J-Mac with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
I like how you
St. John. Patino this year twice. and I don't follow St. John's closely, twice made jokes about his team having no athletes. They lost 8 of 10. I looked it up yesterday. I'm looking for all their big out-of-conference wins. I couldn't find one.
You know when it felt like that discussion about, oh, they got snubbed. That's, I think you're spot on. I would say the last 5 years, that's meant